Well, hello, hello, hello. This is Happy Valley Hobbies, and these are hobbies that make me happy. Apparently, I was babbling to myself for the last 15 minutes because I forgot to hit the go live button. So here I am. Thank you for John Malackley, Wigwag, and Valley's 56 to listening to a dead screen basically. So sorry about that. Uh, Yay! I was about to, it's like here I am. It's like, hey, it's like I'm not, you know, somebody says like, gee, it's awful quiet in here, and I'm like, yeah, there he is. Yes, finally live. Well, I was live before. I just wasn't broadcasting. Uh, well, I guess I have to go through the whole thing again. Uh, well, it's been a 2 week hiatus. The first week was hanging out with my sister and brother-in-law in south of Boston. Um, we're trying to make it a tradition. It's been the second year now, so it's one of those things of, you know, three's the charm, and then it's like, hey, it's now a tradition that we're doing this. So that's pretty. And we're trying. Basically, we're trying to make it so we're not meeting at basically weddings and funerals. Now, now to try to do the same thing with other farther farther relatives that like with my cousin and ooh my father's cousin's grandson. um and well, the new job is, it's I think I'm getting into the groove of things. My body's still fighting. It's like, uh, hey, you just worked 8 hours. You need to stay up for 8 hours more because it's after work. And it's like, no, I want to go to sleep. So we can have the same sleep schedule as everybody else. So that's slightly annoying, but I'm slowly adjusting. I've sort of had to, it's like someone suggested just let your body, you want to stay, if your body wants to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, stay awake that time and then go to sleep, and then, let it, do the 8 hour sleep, and then go that direction. I would have to say I'm getting along with my coworkers, so that's a good thing. I found I'm also getting along with my supervisor, which it seems that well, the thing is, I was originally, I guess, it's a little complicated because I'm a temp, and there was there was a uh, oh, okay, from 2 a.m. saying, well, that's one way of doing it. It's basically, since when I was unemployed, I wasn't doing anything, going to extreme austerity and not doing anything. Now that I'm back to work, I wound up yesterday, wound up going to contra dancing, which was something that I was starting to do before I got laid off. So I'm going to see about picking that up again. And I look at dancing as, a lot more fun than being at a gym. Assume you're getting a workout, but when you're when you're dancing, it's to me it's a little bit more fun. And I also found out that a lot of people don't really. I don't know. I don't know. I do not know my immediate supervisor that well. Oh. Well, it's a little complicated, Wigwag. They first since I'm through a temp agency, I was told that, oh, you're going to the painting department. Well, the thing is, they had somebody else starting at the same time. They went to the paint department. I wound up going for the molding department, which is basically, taking plastic and making parts out of them. I was there for a good portion of the week, but then I wound up being on a machine where I didn't physically have the hand strength to snap the gate off, um, and they put me into finishing, uh, which, yeah, I think is a slight, uh, it seems that a lot of people in the molding department don't really like the people in finishing because, oh, they're lazy and all this, that, and etc. And I found out over the years, it's like the grass is always greener over the other side because it's like, oh, they're not doing that much. Once in the finishers, it's like, oh, they're just, the finishers look at the molders, they're going like, oh, they're just looking at, they're just the machine's doing all the work, not them. But it's always greener on the other side because you're not doing the actual job. But then when you start doing the actual job, you'll find out, I remember there was, the last time I was working for Mac Molding before I was let go, I was training my replacement. It's like, oh, I want to be a technician and all that. So turned around, and about 2 weeks in, he's like, we're doing something. He's like, oh, and I went and I looked at him and said, you thought the grass was greener on this side, didn't you? And he's like, yeah. So that is one of the things about, it's like people can be envious, what you're doing and all that, not realizing that it's not that envious. So so that's what they have me doing now. And finishing is, unlike painting and molding, it's varied. Painting is painting. You're taking apart, painting it, and then you're moving on to the next one. Molding is basically you're letting the machine take the plastic, make a part, and then you're stacking it and all that. Finishing can be everything from masking parts for painting, different, for different colors and stuff like that, or taking the masking off. You could also wind up doing ultrasonic welding inserts into the plastic. You could put it on a CNC machine, which cuts out holes and all that couldn't be done with the molding. Last Friday they had me sanding foam. There's one product that they take. The best way I can describe it is like taking the great stuff foam that you could use for making mountains and stuff like that, and putting into a plastic part for insulation, and then they let it go. They let it cure and all that. And then what I was doing was, taking a sander and just flatten it completely out so they can eventually. Oh yes, absolutely. It is very messy. It's in its own room. It's on the 3rd floor. I guess originally they had it on the 1st floor in a certain area, but they found out they couldn't keep the temperature correct or something like that. And so it's up on the 3rd floor. And outside it was kissing freezing, which is either 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And this room was in the 80s because they had to keep the foam mixture that warm, because once it starts getting cold, it does some really yucky things and all that. So I can't imagine how that particular room is during August. I also heard that the painting room is horrible in August. So I'm sort of kind of glad that I'm in finishing, because it's out of the 3 jobs that's available during second shift. it's the I almost want to say the one where the temperature is the most controlled, I think. Uh, but yeah, it's like normally, uh, you know, being a former military, my schedule is, wake up and clean yourself up, ready for the day. Uh, but last Friday, it's like I got home at 1 o'clock, and I'm just like, okay, everything's coming off, and I'm diving into the shower because foam was everywhere, and you had to wear uh, you got to wear a mask because the foam dust is everywhere. Even though they have a downdraft table that takes 95% of the dust out of the air, but there's still that 5% that you probably shouldn't be breathing in. Uh, but thankfully, it looks like it's only one customer that we do that for. And they make some kind of medical equipment that the thing is, I don't quite know what it's a lot of times it's like you're just dealing with the part, not the whole machine. So you're like, okay, I need to do with this with the part, and um, the funny thing is that I didn't know. It's one of those things of I wasn't really told how many parts per hour I was supposed to be doing, and I actually wound up doing a whole box of 42 plus 4 more, and I was out of parts. And I ran out of parts around 10, I think it was around 10:10 or 10:15. The thing is, get out of, we leave at 11. We usually start cleaning around 10:30. So that worked out sort of kind of well. But then apparently they also had the holiday celebration back in the main headquarters, which is about 7/10 of a mile away. But the thing is that was during our it was during my work time, basically. Which the last time I was there, I was on first shift, so I was able to go to it, and it was okay. But the interesting thing is that the way they have it set up, which is, I guess, sort of kind of odd, is that if you go to the celebration and you're on second shift, you have to clock out and then make it up, sometime during the week or over the weekend. And I told that to one of my coworkers that, hey, and I got them all done. They're like, I was supposed to do that tomorrow. So I'm like, oops. So they said they would have to, figure out whatever they have to do and etc. And then last week, I was at the Great Train Extravaganza, where at least I know I meet up with Dennis from N-Scale Train Boy. He's somebody that I think I met last year or the year before. I think it was last year, because I haven't really known him that long. But every now and then, it's like we say hi to each other and all that. And he's not that far from me. I think he's from the Great Train Extravaganza. I'm sort of like northeast, and he's south. Got my saying. Yeah, it's like one of those things that are, colleagues that are. I'm trying to think now. I know I'm not the oldest one there, but I'm also definitely not the youngest. But I think everyone that I work with was born last century. But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. It's like Uh, you can throw out technology that I was using while growing up and put it in front of them, and they would not know how to use it. That's one of the things of buying a car that's a standard. There's a lot, it's like a lot of thieves. It's like they go try to steal the car, and it's like, it's like, can't steal this one. They don't know how to drive it. My father used to belong to an antique gas engine club, so there was a lot of people had Model Ts. Nobody's going to figure out how to steal a Model T. You can leave the keys in the thing. You can start the car even, and they won't be able to do it, drive it, because there's 3 pedals, but no gear shift. And the things are labeled, and the pedals are labeled C for the clutch. 769. From my understanding, I was watching the moon landing, and according to my mother, I was bouncing up all over the place, because it was like, ooh, wow, and all that. I would assume it was a black and white television. My father was a teamster, so not really living high on the hog. And I think some of the pictures at that time were black and white film. But 69, I was not quite 2 yet. Oh, the little guy. Wait a second. Goodness. Maybe that big. We should go wide. But yeah, it's like there's times that today's generation, because they didn't live through it, so everything has to be wireless. It's like, one of the funny things is that my coworkers didn't think I had a cell phone because I wasn't on it constantly. It's like, oh, he's an old guy. He doesn't have a cell phone. It's like, no. Oh, nice, John. Yeah, I think I was, being about, not quite 2 yet. It never really got cemented in my memory how the moon landing was. I do remember there was watching an old episode of Battlestar Battlestar starts with a G, Galactica, I think. And they're doing this whole thing of, oh, hello there, Rando. Thank you for dropping in. Drive safely home. And the presence of the presence of Battlestar Galactica as they're trying to find Earth. And this is a broadcast of, it's like, it's like you can hear the talking back and forth, and they're looking at it as it's a signal from a routine landing, wherever they're landing on something. And one of the last things is that they basically they leave it, they're leaving it on, and they go down the staircase. They just leave it alone, and it's playing out. It's like how many feet and all that, and etc. And it winds up landing, and what was it? Tranquility Base. The Eagle has landed, and then then I happen to realize that no, this was not a broadcast of a routine landing. It was the first landing, and and the thing is I And the thing is that I mean the I think I mean I almost want to say the like it your the remotes that you have today I think have more processing power than what the Apollo mission had. Uh, it used I remember growing up it's like making fun of how a watch had more how a modern digital watch had more power than that. Now I don't even think even that is the possibility. I think I almost want to say pick up a thumb drive. I think a thumb drive or an SD card has more electronics packed into them uh, than they wind up having on the Apollo mission. Um, I think there's a way to actually turn a thumb drive into a computer. Uh, I know some people who are masters of electronics, masters of electronics and digital stuff and all that can probably do it. I cannot. But I know there's massive amounts of transistors that are in here. There is a very small processor um, that's specifically designed to, do the all the electronic things. If I remember correctly, that's why disk drives were so expensive at one time because, well, they actually had a computer in them that they would take information from the computer and then saying, "Hey, I want to access this file and all that," and it would turn around and go, "Okay, they want to need this file. Here's where the information is. There you go." It was a very uh, uh, a very specialized processor. So goodbye. Yep, absolutely. Kids have hard drive with an OS. Uh, and yeah, uh, and not only that, the programming for the Apollo mission was, I want to say, interesting because a lot of times it had to be hardwired in. So you actually had people who were, you had women, basically sewing the circuits together. But well, I think we've been thoroughly derailed on that one. Let's get back to last week. Last week was at the Great Train Extravaganza, where I met up with Dennis from N Scale Train Boy. He was doing a live stream, and after a while, it's like, well, I was there. It's like, where is he? So I got on the phone. He's doing live stuff, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, he's on the opposite end of where I'm at. So, and showed off what I was doing. Let me switch over to the other live camera. That's one thing I would have to say. I'm not really a fan of with StreamYard is that it's not easy switching cameras. I get the impression that if you pay for it, it's easier. But if I was to do this professionally, then I would call for it. Let me aim the camera just a bit. Come on. There we go. Yeah, I was showing this off. Which is, how I've, wound up broadening the gauge on this. Here's what the an original, quote unquote standard gauge is. One thing about this particular locomotive, I bought this at the show. Now I have enough red wheels. right now I got I didn't realize it at the time. I had plenty of black wheels, but I didn't have quite enough for red wheels. I basically what I'm doing is I'm replacing the blind drivers and also the rubber driver. So for every locomotive I'm doing, until I figure out how to get drivers without buying a whole locomotive, um, I'm basically needing 3 locomotives because I need to replace the rubber tired one and the blind driver one for every locomotive that I do. But right now the idea is to at least get this working properly. I am contemplating on working with somebody in S scale because HOW6 is actually it's about a millimeter narrower than S gauge. But the interesting thing is with this parts locomotive, this Spirit of America, this particular model and paint scheme was the first locomotive I was actually able to buy with my own money. I do not have the original anymore. I might have the original tender because I had that for years. I'm not sure why I lost the locomotive, but I had the tender for years after I lost the engine. So not quite sure how I did that, but that was a while ago. And I was actually half tempted going like, hey, I can actually use this as still might actually turn around and do something. So one of the things that I was actually planning to do with this layout is do June of 1876. At that time, unlike the bicentennial, which was a little bit more corporate, sponsored. The corporation was the one that was, painting everything red, white, and blue. In the centennial, the companies themselves, they did, obviously they did celebrate, but they didn't really go into okay, we're going to make a whole string of box cars or tank cars. It's like insert whatever cars, locomotives, and all that, and paint them red, white, and blue. From my understanding, it was more set up for the individual. It was more individualistic. It was the people of the railroad that did it themselves. So there was more. I'm trying to think now. It was a little bit more of individual setups, where you had where it was the individual crews would dress up their particular equipment. So the box cars and everything that was sort of pulled into everything, those weren't decorated at all. And the locomotives and cabooses, it depended on how much how much patriotic they were, and how much they had to spend on doing said decorations. So you got some locomotives that had simple bunting on it, and then you had some locomotives where they had so much decoration on it you couldn't tell that there was a locomotive underneath it. And I'm planning on doing at least one of them really ridiculously decked out, sort of almost like some of the gaudy Christmas Christmas decorations that they've been playing at work on the television. The break room has its own television, and not sure why, but apparently someone's really into crime dramas and all that, because it's always on when I walk in. It's like always, on a, ooh, we need to catch this suspect. It's like there's this crime and then there's this, it's like, whatever. But slowly been able to figure out how to actually turn around and change the channel. Not necessarily on something I want, but something that's not necessarily have to do with criminals. But yeah, also since last time I've been able to get a new gear puller. The gear puller and the quarter that I have were bought used. So this has actually been able to do S gauge. Since this is close to S gauge, that makes hopefully more sense. The quarter I have, I bought used, so it doesn't have all its parts, nor did it have instructions. So now that I have instructions and all that, I can actually figure out how to actually, use the quarter. It's got these, and I just recently got these, so I haven't really had time to actually read the instructions. The chopper, the center, wonder what the aligner is. But I think it's one of those things of, it's nice that the Northwest Short Line is still in business, because a lot of the stuff that they do is no one else, no one really else does it that I'm aware of. But yeah, it's basically I need to turn around and go through and figure out what everything does. There's the Polar 3. I think it has enough. I know it. I mean, the way this is set up, you can actually turn around and do really large wheels of, probably even G gauge. I'm not sure how the depth is. To me, the depth is a little narrower for me. But I guess it could put on. Yeah, I guess it could put on the wheels also. But those are the new tools. Oh, hello, Caboose 1973, Channel 1. I believe we wound up meeting at the Great Train Extravaganza. Or is this a different Caboose that I'm thinking of? Yeah, gear puller is nice to have. And it is also where, well, it's not only nice to have, but sometimes if you understand how it works, you could probably get away with using something that not this specific. If you have access to a regular arbor press, which is overkill, you can probably get away with using this. But yeah, the interesting thing is that you do have a precision press tool, which is optional. Which I don't think I need. I would have to say, if Yeah, this is too thick to do what I need it for. And there's apparently I didn't realize this, but it looks like press tool set. So there's a press tool full set, whatever that is. But yeah, I think I don't need to get the accessories for it. Although if I knew there was accessories for it, I would have turned around and bought them all just to, just to say I have them. But that might be a thing for later on. Now, normally I would suggest who. I do not know Sidetrack Sunday's new schedule because I guess a couple of people had to bail and they were replaced by a couple of other people, which I think I wound up subscribing to. But the thing is, I'm in the process of hanging out with a neighbor because it seems that one of my neighbors wound up throwing away a flat screen television set, which they found out that apparently has backlighting issues, which my one monitor sort of kind of has every now and then. But it's like, hey, it's are you interested in having a free TV? And it's like, yeah, sure, if it's not too heavy. It's not heavy at all. It's just awkward because it's a large screen television. So I will not be on whoever Sidetrack Sunday is. Yes, we did meet. All right, so I knew you ahead of time and didn't realize it. But right, that's pretty cool. It's one of those things of did you get any more people to join your organization, Caboose? Because I don't know if any extra people joined our organization. Happen to realize that Jeff, our resident man in charge, happened to realize that he hadn't changed his address. So probably a lot of the applications are going to his old address, not his new one. So my assumption is that they had to eventually turn around and figure out where to but yeah, I would have to say things are going to have to slowly get back to, I guess, normal after the holidays. None of the oh, you gotta do this and this and this and this. But yeah, unfortunately, I found out that the master locomotive builders in the Hudson Berkshire Division, which put on the Great Train Extravaganza. They had 3. One wound up going into a nursing home, so they got rid of all their equipment. Somebody I did know. Somebody else that I did know, they moved out of the area. And somebody who I didn't know also had moved out of the area. So right now there's no MMR, or at least no certificate locomotive builders. So it's one of those things that either try to do it online or trying to do it on other things. But I think I want to say I think I successfully re-gauged the locomotive, because it does fit properly. Here's if I can re-rail it correctly. So goes on the rails nicely. But unfortunately, I would have to say, well, now that I got a proper quarter with all the parts with it and instructions, I can probably figure out how to do that. I think I might have to. The one wheel set is not as tight as I would like it to be, so I might have to turn around and make a new axle and see if that winds up working. But that is not something for tonight. My original plan was to have this up and running for GTE, but then I happened to realize once I bought these, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to have the time to do so. So that's when I did not do so. All right, so after looking at this, the way this is set up is that this tank here actually is not a round tank. It's sort of a, probably see it better this way. The tank is more oblong than round. So there's a possibility of, cutting that completely out, putting a round tank in there and doing it that way. But yeah, if I can, if I can actually turn around and get this to run correctly, that'll be a nice goal for next year. Because if I can get one running, that means I can get a second one running. Because I have plenty of these. I actually do have the Mastodon. I actually have one Mastodon version where it's a 482 or 480, which basically it's basically most of the same parts, but they changed the chassis so it could have 4 wheels on it. I think the wheels are slightly smaller, and then they were able to stuff another one in there. Another thing is that once I get one running, and then maybe a second one, then I'll go through and change what needs to be changed. We can keep the boiler and some of the parts the same. The cab will have to be smaller, because this model is actually OO, not HO. So we got to put an HO cab on it. Maybe also, shorten shorten the tender. Could probably stay the same length and width, but at least make it a little bit shorter. And this also came with the wood top, so that's a good thing. I'm trying to think what are the other things that need to do. Remove all the electrics, because electricity in 1876 was just becoming a thing. Let's see, what else is there? We'll leave the air brake stuff on there, because air brakes were a thing. If you see something that has the Lincoln Pin Pilot on the front of it, and there's an extra hose on it, that means it had air brakes on it. I think air brakes was a good, I would say, almost a whole decade before the knuckle coupler became a thing. And this is 1876 was the transition period. But yeah, I have to figure out how to uh, take the generator off because, of course, they put it on the course that's also conical instead of spherical. Uh, Also, a different style headlight because this is OO scale, not HO scale. So getting a smaller headlight would also be a thing. We can keep pretty much everything else the same. I'm not a rivet counter, so it's one of those. Yeah, I'm aiming to be close enough. There is somebody on Discord that's doing not Erie Lackawanna, just the Lackawanna Railroad in 6-foot gauge. Just found out he's not on the NMRA, so he's not on the Interchange Discord, which I gotta start putting pictures up on because I do have a Discord-ish set up there. And start showing some pictures of what I'm doing with this silly stuff and see who wants to join me. Well, it looks like it's time to switch over. Let's see. Transition. What's the camera bounce? And now change over to this one up here. That comes on. Close that window. Oh, hello there, Monsville. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, I don't have the chat directly in front of me, so sometimes I miss people when they come in. Sorry about that. But all right. Well. But yeah, it's like I do not know who's on Sidetrack Sunday today. Because they did say went to a camera back, Blue Box SD. Nice. Yeah, depending on the Blue Box stuff, they actually I think they actually came out with kits on how to, basically you take the motor off, you add extra bits to it, and you can put it back together again. Because Blue Box was such a big thing and all that Rainbow Bell tonight. All right. Thank you, Kyle. Let's see. Oh. Speaking of saying that, I completely miss people coming in. Hi, Kyle. But Unreal Artists, thank you for coming in. Yeah, I'm about ready to end the stream. Thanks for everyone for coming in. And let me babble on for a little bit. And sorry for not clicking go live button an hour ago. Turn around, but I lost track of time. Yeah. Earlier on, I actually turned around and I'm babbling on for about 15 minutes, realizing I didn't hit the go live button. So I'm like, geez, like why is no one? It seems someone mentioned that it was quiet. I think it was John Blanacki, I think, said, "Gee, it's quiet in here." And I'm thinking, is it because of the chat, or is my volume too low? And I didn't get a response, and I just happened to, I'm looking at stuff and all that. So I didn't hit the go live button. So, all right. Well, next week will be just before Christmas for those who celebrate it. And so that should be interesting in itself. And let's see. I have 3 new non-model railroaders videos posted. Okay. Am I on Facebook? I have a private account. I do not have a Happy Valley Valleys account. But Monday morning here. Huh. So I'm assuming Monsville's in New Zealand or Australia? Because it's, I guess technically it could be England. Because that's only, be 4 hours away. So it could be very early in Australia. Gotcha. Well, you have yourself a nice day. And same thing with everyone else. And for those who want to show up next week, I'll see you then. So I believe the world needs more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around. Bye, everyone.